webinar series Moneyfy Mantra, where we speak with industry experts on various personal finance topics, and to help our viewers to learn more about personal finance, mutual funds, and similar topics. So as we look at the markets right now, we are almost at an all-time high. Sensex and Nifty is flying high. And now, the talk of the town is, all our HRs are wanting us to save taxes and, submit investment proof. So what better time to discuss about, tax saving than now? So the topic for today is, know all about ELSS funds. And we have Shivani Kunwar, product development from Tata AMC joining us today. Hi, Shivani. Welcome to Moneyfy Mantra.
Hi, thank you so much.
So, before we jump on our topic for today, let me just give a brief introduction of what is Moneyfy. Moneyfy is a financial, financial management platform where all our, app users can manage their mutual fund investment, direct equity investments, NPS, insurance, loans under one platform. So if in case you want to, start an SIP, open your NPS account, track all your investments, whether you are making good returns, you're making, under average returns, you cannot track everything under one place on the Moneyfy app. To download Moneyfy app, we have given the link in the description. Please explore, download, and share your feedback. So we have this comment section where our viewers can put in comments, questions, and we'll be happy to take it. And please do subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook pages, to keep following, to be updated about the latest happenings on the Moneyfy app and Tata Capital. So Shivani, the first question for everyone today is, what are these ELSS funds? Why does one need ELSS in their portfolio?
Yeah, so I'll take that. And you're actually right. This is the time of the year when most people around us start asking, what are ELSS? Your friends and relatives will call you. Whoever's working in the financial services will start getting these calls. Ki ELSS kya hota hai? So in the full form, ELSS is a short form of equity linked saving schemes, and which basically describes the first part, the first thing you need to know about ELSS, which is that it's an investment about equity. So your money is going into equity instruments when you're investing in equity linked saving schemes. It's a mutual fund which is predominantly investing in equity stocks. The other thing that you need to know about an ELSS mutual fund is that it's a tax saving instrument. Why it's a tax saving instrument is there's a section under the Income Tax Act which is 80C, wherein certain investment avenues are exempt, get a certain deduction. You get a deduction of 1,50,000 if you invest in these investment avenues, and your taxable income goes down by that amount. So if you invest up to 1,50,000, if you even invest 1,50,000, whatever amount you invest, that your taxable income goes down by that much. So ELSS is the one category of mutual funds which is allowed in this category. So under ATC there are many other instruments, but amongst mutual funds, this is the category which is included in this list. So if you invest in an ELSS scheme, you are one, investing in equity instruments, and you're two, getting a tax deduction up to 1,50,000. So that's ELSS in short view.
So, sabko, when we say ELSS, everyone is very eager to know, ye ELSS hota kya hai? So as you pointed out, it's a mutual fund. Lekin, is there any specific thing that one has to be careful about? Any particular difference between कि ये ELSS fund hai, is different than mutual fund? Any specific things that one has to look forward for?
Correct. So it works like a mutual fund. In the background, while we are managing that fund, it's very similar to how any mutual fund scheme would work when you're investing in it or when you're withdrawing from it. There are key characteristics to each category of mutual fund. Characteristics which are specific to an ELSS scheme are, one, that it is investing predominantly in equity. the 80% of the investment has to be in equity. Two, what you need to know, and this is very important, is that there is a lock-in period of 3 years. Any investment you make into an ELSS is locked in for 3 years, and you cannot withdraw from that corpus until it matures and until it reaches 3 years of your investment period. Only then you can start withdrawing from that. So, and lock-in periods are a characteristic you will find across the investment instruments that I mentioned in the previous answer about ATC instruments. So everything that you have under ATC that's tax exempt has a lock-in period. And an ELSS scheme has the shortest lock-in period of 3 years. So 3 years is the shortest. Other instruments have 5 years, 15 years, and so on. And this is a scheme where you have 3 years of lock-in period. So you cannot get access to your corpus for 3 years. So that's something investors need to be aware of before they put in their money in an ELSS. The other thing that you need to know is that one, it is tax exempt. The 1,50,000 that you put into it, your taxable income comes down by as much. But when you are withdrawing your money out of the ELSS scheme, there is LTCG which will apply to your investment. Because it's a long term, because it's more than 1 year, you've already crossed 3 years before you're withdrawing because of the lock-in period. LTCG of 10% will apply to your investment if your gains are more than 1 lakh. So I'll say this again. So if you've made gains of more than 1 lakh in your ELSS scheme at the end of 3 years and you're withdrawing your money, you will have to pay 10% tax on that. If it's less than 1 lakh, there is no tax. So these are three things that you need to know about an ELSS scheme.
So, as we know that, as you said, LTCG gets applied. Why does LTCG get applied on, specifically ELSS fund, or, all mutual funds in general have this LTCG as a taxation?
All mutual funds in general, whenever you make gains of more than 1 lakh, you will have to, all equity schemes, you will have to pay a certain amount of tax on that. Any gains you make on that, if it exceeds 1 lakh. But if you've invested for a period of less than 1 year, that tax is higher. And if you've invested for a period of more than that, that tax comes down, and it's called LTCG. So that's long-term capital gains. So when you have invested for 3 years, because you can't invest for less than that in an ELSS, you are in the LTCG bracket, which is why your tax goes down to 10%. And that's also a differentiating factor from other investment options which are there under ATC, because there LTCG may not apply, and your income, the profits, the benefit that you're getting from that investment, for example, your interest, will be taxed at your tax slab. So if you're in the 30% bracket, there your gains in an FD, for example, you will be paying 30%. Versus here where you only pay LTCG, which is 10%.
Correct. So, as we speak about taxes, so while I will pay some tax on the earnings which I have, so what is the amount that I can save when investing into ELSS?
So I think you would have seen this amount on many websites. It comes to around 46,000 is the amount that you can save. So if you are in the 30% slab, you save a lot more, versus if you're in a lower slab, you are saving a little less. So on your 1,50,000, you can be potentially saving 30% first. That's a saving you are 100% making. And on your gains also, again, you save some more tax because you're investing in ELSS versus any other tax saving instrument.
So, having a 3-year lock-in period, does it help, or, it is against investing? Because, equity markets are generally volatile. So, we usually recommend customers to invest for a long period of time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and come with that mindset to invest. So does this lock-in period help the customer in a way, that, having a 3-year lock-in, gives him some time to just see through the market volatility?
Honestly, I would I am strongly in favor of it. I don't think the lock-in period, I think, is a good idea for a lot of investors who have just come into equity. I think an investor first needs to be aware that they're putting money into an equity scheme. They need to be aware that they're signing up for a certain amount of volatility going ahead. What the 3 years lock-in does for you is that it adds an additional layer of discipline to your investment. You absolutely have no choice. Like कल अगर market गिर गया तो आपके पास उस दिन choice नहीं है. You have to wait that period out. And we've seen like every every time we run any numbers on mutual funds, any returns, we've seen that over years your returns stabilize, you get compounding benefits, your probability of negative returns goes down by a lot. The longer you stay invested, it comes down by a lot. So I would say that, that 3 years adds a certain discipline to the investor. And even if you look at it from the fund manager's perspective, if they know that this money I have for the next 3 years, they can take calls for the next 3 years. They can take calls in companies which they feel will do well over the next 3 years versus just taking calls on companies for the next 1 year or 2 years. So I think from both perspectives, it gives a certain discipline and a certain certainty about flows, and which is why I think it can benefit investors at the end of the day.
So if I'm an investor, what is the minimum investment which I need to make into an ELSS fund? And, if there is a minimum, is there any maximum amount that I can invest into an ELSS fund?
So, the minimum actually for most schemes runs as low as 500 rupees. You can start with 500 rupees. You don't need to wait to accumulate a certain corpus before you start investing in an ELSS scheme. There is no maximum. You can, like any other mutual fund scheme, you can invest as much as you want, but there's a limit to the tax benefit that you can get, which is your 1,50,000 under the ATC. Other than that, because the minimum investment is also low, it's always a good idea to think of maybe doing an SIP versus putting in a lump sum into your mutual fund scheme. That's a very good option because you can phase out your investments. Like we discussed just now, that there is a certain volatility that the investor is signing up for when they're investing in an equity scheme. And SIPs have been known to reduce that kind of volatility. You do not need to decide your entering point, and this is a facility which ELSS schemes provide to you, like other mutual funds as well. Like for all mutual fund schemes in ELSS also, you have this thing where you can phase out your investments. Like right now, while we are in January now, as the next financial year starts, it's a good idea for people to plan out how they're going to invest their 1,50,000 over months and reduce the kind of volatility that they will face investing into an equity scheme.
Correct. So I think SIP is more preferred option to invest. As you said, it helps to average out the cost of investment, helps manage volatility. But the time has passed and you need to go lump sum
Yes,
right now if you want to
of
save
course.
taxes.
Of course.
So there's always a question. When someone invests into FD, everyone has a certainty of getting maybe 5%, 6%, and now 7% maybe as the rate of interest are going up. ELSS being a mutual fund, it doesn't picturize any performance. However, if say if I have to give any sort of information to a customer, what are the expected returns? Everyone is asking, kitna milega? How much will I make money? If I invest today into an ELSS fund. So what has this product performed? I will not say what one should expect. What has been the past performance of an individual who would have invested, in this product, and is it higher, lower compared to other financial products where people are able to save taxes under Section ATC?
So, and this is something you will read in every mutual fund document where we say that your past performance is not indicative of future performance. And I want to say that before I answer this question. So, Abhi, one thing you need to know is that while every investor needs to know is while they're choosing where to save their tax is what their risk appetite is. Okay, if you want to go for a fixed assured return product and your risk appetite is such, I think that is something they should sign up for. But if you are open to taking exposure to equity, if you want to take exposure to equity, then why not save tax while you're doing that? Okay, so that's the idea here. You get market linked returns, you get returns which are equivalent to the kind of returns that equity markets are making in this situation. And maybe more than that, because that's the point of fund managers, right? They're trying to give you returns better than what the broader market is doing at that point. So while fund managers are endeavoring to do better than the market at all points, the market will see certain lows. So it's not, I would not say that it's a good idea to look at historical returns and think of what kind of returns you're going to make in future, because if I talk about रिटर्न जो 20 साल पहले बने या 10 साल पहले बने, बिकॉज उतना आपको तो मतलब 3 साल का ही पता होंगे, तो दैट्स जस्ट वन डेटा पॉइंट. बट इवन इफ आई लुक एट रिटर्न जो पिछले 20 साल में बने, मतलब इंडियन इकोनॉमी कितनी चेंज हो गई उतने सालों में. So going ahead, we don't know if that same situation is going to come up. What we know is that if you want to take exposure into equity markets and if you want to invest into equities, this is a way for you to save tax while you do that. And it's a way with, there are other benefits, like you get a shorter lock-in period one. There is no upside to returns. In other instrument, there's an upside, right? If they're saying 7%, that's all. That is what you're going to get. But here, there's no upside. You can get really good returns. And again, like we said, that the longer you stay invested, the probability of your a good upside goes up by a lot in that time period. So compounding benefits is what you get in these schemes. Having a number in mind is not a good idea while you're investing in any market link product, is what I would suggest.
Correct. So, you've mentioned that, ELSS products comes, with a 3-year lock-in. Should an investor only stick to 3 years? There's a, there's a assumption in the mind of the investor that this is a 3-year product. But is that true, or, you can invest maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years in that same fund?
So I go by the philosophy of staying invested for longer, and I will give you the reason for why I do that. Because like we discussed also multiple times right now, that the longer you stay invested, your benefits go up. And if you are at a stage in life where you want to take exposure into equities, why would you want to take money out at certain point, pay taxes on that at that point, and then stop the compounding benefits midway? Why would you not want for that to go on and keep accumulating a corpus? There's absolutely no downside to that, because if you look at equity linked saving schemes, most of them have no restrictions. Like there's no restrictions in terms of sectors, there is no restrictions in terms of market cap, there is no restrictions in terms of philosophy, themes. There's absolutely no restrictions. Like the fund manager can do whatever they want, they will do the best that they can for that scheme when they're generating returns. So it's a completely diversified scheme. Even your risk is not maybe as high as it would be in a sectoral fund or in a specific, say a specific market cap. So for me, it's my way to increase my diversification, and I would there's no reason for me to stop that midway and take that money out and put it somewhere else, because it's already after 3 years, it's not locked in. Whenever I need it, I can take it anyway. But I would rather have it compound over years. And think about it from any perspective. You are investing in a company. एक कंपनी को अच्छा करने में मतलब कुछ साल लगते हैं, लेकिन you are investing in many companies, and companies take time to start making money, to start doing better. So give your investment corpus also that kind of time to grow as those companies grow. So I would not suggest, just a second. I am so sorry.
No problem. So Shivani, as you said, there's a 3-year lock-in period. When we talk to customers and investors, they're usually confused about the concept of the lock-in period, because they have largely dealt with products like FDs, where there is a premature withdrawal charges. So would you want to explain our viewers, investors, that what is exactly a lock-in period versus being able to withdraw early? So this will help our investors to get their concepts right, because it's a very critical thing that what's the lock-in period versus minimum investment period.
Okay. So say for example, you are investing in an FD, or in a 3-year FD, for example, because here also you're getting a lock-in for 3 years. In an FD, when you're investing for 3 years, you can still pull out your money at the end of 1 year. You can pull out your corpus at the end of 1 year, and you have to pay some charges for that. You cannot get your interest and your entire corpus at the end of 1 year. So that benefit of investing in that FD and taking that money out at the end of 1 year is not going to benefit you at the end of the day. It would have been much better if you'd stayed invested for the entire 3 years. That's when you would have benefited from that investment. I don't know the exact charges that you pay when you invest in an FD and pull out earlier? Would you know? So I was asking you, Harsh, that do you know what are the charges when you take your money out of an FD earlier?
So I think it ranges from, depends. The interest rate accrued gets reduced by around 3%, 2%, 1%, depending on the, time period that I'm invested in. So that depends, I think.
Okay. So yeah, so the idea is that there you lose out on a certain benefit and whatever. So at the end of the day, you're investing to beat inflation. If you're investing in an FD and you're looking at that 7% return, तो आप inflation beat करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो जब आप वो investment करते हो तो आपका वो
Correct.
थोड़ा purpose defeat हो जाता है जब आप उसको पहले ही निकाल लेते हो और उस पे एक charge pay कर देते हो. ELSS में आपके पास option ही नहीं है. To be very honest, there is no option for 3 years. You can't touch that money. So that is out of your hands. There's no option for you to get that money in 1 year. So if you have an investment horizon of less than 3 years, you should look at products जिनका maturity 1 year का है. मतलब तब आपको ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए कि आप 3 साल FD में कर रहे हो और फिर जल्दी निकाल रहे हो. That's never a good idea. So you should
Correct.
invest as per your investment horizon.
So
at the
अगर
end.
हमारे बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स है ना, FD एज अ प्रोडक्ट दे लाइक, उनको बहुत पसंद आता है. एंड अगर हमें कोई डिफरेंस या कोई मेजर फीचर्स बताने हैं FD वर्सेस ELSS, व्हाट विल बी द टॉप 3 फीचर्स व्हिच कैन बी कंपैरेबल?
एक तो पहले मतलब I feel कि I want to say it like this FD thing. I think, of course, like a large chunk of our population loves investing in FD, and I feel a big reason for that is what we've inherited from the generation before us. Because if at that point the stock market, anything would happen, mutual funds, anything would happen. Here
There was
now
lack
we
of
are,
regulation. There
yeah,
were
now
many
we're living
things.
in very regulated times. Like times are very regulated. Fund managers have to be very careful with how they're investing. Every other team in a mutual fund company has to be careful that all rules are being followed at all times. And volatility is there. Market linked products are market linked. At the end of the day, that volatility is there. But if you stay invested for long enough, you get your compounding benefits. It is, I would not say that an FD is in any way in that sense better than a mutual fund scheme. It's something, of course, we've inherited and we understand it more. And FD is easier to understand क्योंकि हमने सीखा ही वो है. जैसे मेरे को भी पहले सिर्फ FD ही समझ आता था क्योंकि मम्मी पापा वही इन्वेस्ट करते थे. तो वो हमने इनहेरिट किया समवेयर वो नॉलेज और हम उसके साथ ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल हो जाते हैं. बट मतलब आई थिंक we should explore it more and more. I think mutual funds, I started investing when I finally joined this company and I started understanding mutual funds. In fact, ELSS was the first scheme I invested in. I started an SIP in an ELSS because I knew that I wanted equity exposure and I want to start saving on tax also. So I feel it is something that now it's an uncomfortable zone, but something we just start entering as a generation to understand mutual funds also now. And where you were saying in terms of comparisons also, and that was a big reason. In an FD, you have to go in for a 5-year lock-in. So if lock-in is a problem for you, mutual funds are better. In an FD, again, there is an upside to the returns you can make. In 5 years in mutual funds, there is a very minuscule chance. Like if you just check the returns over many years also, but even if you just think of compounding, over 5 years, generally mutual funds give you decent returns. Okay, so even if you're just thinking of that number, equity mutual funds, equity markets, आप खुद सोचो कभी भी 5 साल देख लो, they've done decently well. मतलब chances कम है. SIP करोगे तो आपका मतलब you are protecting your downside by a lot by doing an SIP because you are entering at different points in the market. So that's another comparison point between the two. In a fixed deposit, you pay tax on your interest that you earn as per your tax slab. Here, the money that you make on your corpus, you pay your HDCG, which I told you was 10%. So that's another big difference between the two products. So, which is why these are all the ways in which an ELSS, if you are in a position in your life where equity investments are something you're looking at, an ELSS makes a lot more sense for you.
Yeah, I think one more, I think, as you spoke on the last point on paying taxes, when in FD, you are paying the taxes based on the accrued returns or, the accrued interest. You have to pay away the tax, on the same year.
Hmm.
Versus on an ELSS, it is as and when realized. So if you are redeeming your investments after
Correct.
5 years, 10 years, that is the time when you will end up paying the taxes versus an FD where, there's some accrued returns. अगर ये साल 7% return बनाया है तो मुझे 7% पे immediately, even if the interest is not yet credited in my bank account, I will have to still go and pay out taxes for that amount. Correct. So,
Correct.
is there any partial withdrawal possible in ELSS? If I know that there's a lock-in period, but people have this kind of questions that they come out with. Are there any partial withdrawals possible, if not all?
No, there is no partial withdrawal option in an ELSS. There are dividend options, but because dividends in themselves are not tax efficient, I would not say that, maybe that's something you want to, if you want to look at that, sure, but they're not tax efficient is something I would let you know
So if you
of.
could, elaborate why dividends options are not very efficient, it can help our viewers understand better.
हाँ, सो डिविडेंड ऑप्शंस पे भी आप अपने स्लैब के हिसाब से टैक्स दोगे। तो अगर आपको मतलब एक कुछ स्कीम, जैसे 2 टाइप की म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम्स होती हैं, एक आपकी ग्रोथ होती है और एक डिविडेंड होती है। मतलब प्राइमरीली यही 2 टाइप्स होते हैं। ग्रोथ में क्या है कि आपका पैसा जो है वो कंपाउंड होता जा रहा है। लाइक अगर आपने 1 साल, आपके पैसे ने 100 रुपए ने 1 साल में 10 रुपए कमाया या 20 रुपए कमाया, नेक्स्ट साल वो उसी 120 पे कमाएगा, अगला का जो भी ग्रोथ होने वाला है। In your dividend option, out of that money that your scheme has earned, you may get some corpus in your hand. आपको मतलब maybe 10 rupees you get as dividend out of that money that you have made. But out of that 33 rupees you will have to pay as tax in that situation. So it is not as tax efficient as maybe doing an LTC. मतलब maybe going for the whole entire 3 years, investing for 3 years growth option में, और फिर आप 10% ही दे रहे हैं at the end of those 3 years, तो उतना टैक्स एफिशिएंट नहीं होता है एक डिविडेंड ऑप्शन।
So if अगर मैं 30% टैक्स स्लैब में हूँ तो मेरा डिविडेंड पे मैं 30% टैक्स भर दूंगा, वर्सेस अगर मैंने ग्रोथ ऑप्शन सिलेक्ट किया है तो I'll only have to pay 10% of LTCG. So that's a big tax inefficiency.
Which is also if your returns are more than 1 lakh, which is also अगर आपने 1 लाख से ज्यादा रिटर्न बनाया और उस साल में, जैसे आपने लास्ट आंसर में बोला कि उस साल में अगर आपने उसको मतलब रियलाइज कर लिया, if you take that money out, then you pay those tax.
Correct. So, as an investor, who do you think should invest in an ELSS fund? Is it meant for all, or a specific category of investors who are willing to take risk into equity? So what according to you is the right segment customers to invest?
I would say that there can be 2 filters. Okay. Actually, no, 3 filters. One, if you are okay to lock your money in for 3 years, okay, which if you have that kind of appetite, because उसमें बीच में बहुत volatility होगी, if you're okay with that, go for it. 2, if you're okay with investing in equity. And 3, if you are a tax paying citizen. ठीक है, इसमें मतलब I think if these are 3 filters that you cross, I feel ELSS is the product for you.
So if there are a lot of ELSS funds, and I think Tata AMC has one of the ELSS fund out of it. If I'm a normal investor, I'm given an option, a lot of options to invest. So what should be my criteria to select a particular ELSS fund which is there in the market, and should I select one, or should I have more than one products in my portfolio?
Okay, so abhi, like I said a while back, ELSS schemes have there are no limitations. And ELSS as a fund manager, like for example, in our fund manager has no limitations on whether he wants to do large caps, mid caps, small caps, whether he wants to do financial services, IT, pharma. There's no sector limitation. Whether he wants to buy companies which are available at cheaper valuations of companies which are more expensive, which is basically कि मतलब the kind of earnings that they're making उसके मुकाबले वो कितने पैसे पे I am able to get that money, तो get that stock. तो ये सब टाइप का कोई limitation नहीं होता है on an ELSS stock, on an ELSS scheme. So when you are looking to choose, because now there's so many mutual funds and I'm sure each of them has an ELSS scheme. So when you're looking to choose, I think what I would recommend that you look at is the kind of philosophy that the fund house runs. So if the fund house has a philosophy which is similar to your own, so if, for example, if you would prefer to be more in large caps and you would prefer to be more in certain sectors that you see that this fund house is similar, more invested in, if you feel it's a fund house that has a long track record, which gives you some comfort. So I think these are things that that an investor can look at, because past returns are not indicative. At the end of the day, it's where that fund house is going to steer your ship going ahead. तो आपको ये देखना चाहिए कि ये आपके रिस्क एपेटाइट से मैच हो रहा है कि नहीं, और आपकी फिलोसफी, आप क्या सोचते हो कि आगे जाके क्या अच्छा करने पड़ रहा है, आपको कुछ आइडिया है तो उस हिसाब से आपको चूज करना चाहिए. एडिशनली, यू नो इफ यू फील कि आप क्या सोचते हो पे यू आर नॉट एज कॉन्फिडेंट, there are advisors who will help you out in choosing which product you should go for amongst the many mutual funds which are available. So I would say, explain what kind of risk appetite you have and invest according to that.
Yeah, I think Shivani, that's about it. Our questions are over. I would thank you for your valuable time to conduct this session. It was extremely insightful. I think I personally think that a lot of viewers who are wanting to start saving for their this financial year would get some sense out of selecting a particular product. So, thank you once again for your time and effort to conduct this session for our viewers. I would also like to thank all our viewers who have, joined us remotely on YouTube and Facebook. And in case you want to, start investing, in an ELSS, either through a lump sum or an SIP, you can download our Moneyfy app. I think I'll just mention it again. The link is given in the description. You can download the app, and we also have a website, tatacapitalmoneyfy.com, wherein you can browse through all the funds available in this category and make your investment. Thank you all for your valuable support and time. Thanks, Shivani.
Thank you so much, everyone.